Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Book It, Vince, the Wrestling Dream Match podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Martin Bennett, and with me for the third time is the one and only Jake Martin.
Three time. I can't do it. It's not 5 times, so I can't do the Book It. Three time. Almost.
Guest host. Technically, this is your second time guest hosting. Right. But it's your third time on the podcast, which is the most out of everybody.
I've never had an accolade that gets less impressive the more you describe it.
This, of course, means that this is another episode of the podcast where Anthony is too busy to do his own podcast. So, of course, we have to bring in the reliable, the wonderful Jake Martin.
The ringer. Here I am.
How are you doing? It's been a while.
Yeah,
we were. I'll let the audience know. And on this, we were supposed to start recording an hour ago, and we've just been sitting here talking about different things, Pokemon cards, wrestling video games, all this stuff.
Yeah, and then we could be like, we should probably record, and then we'd start talking about something else, and then but yeah, no, I'm here. I'm ready to. I mean, in terms of it still being a global pandemic, I'm not like 100%, but the thing that is 100% for me is how incredible this era of wrestling is shaping up to be, which has been like the thing, my mana, I guess, what's been keeping me going. I'm just so excited every week to see what's happening next. Like, what a time.
The hope is that eventually, specifically for us in Canada, we will get to see more shows.
Can you imagine when those shows start pouring up here? The first AEW show in Canada, that's going to be wild.
The tickets are going to be so insane.
They're going to go like, although a lot of the AEW events, the scalpers haven't expected them to sell out as much as they have been. So there's been some stuff where it's like, apparently the scalpers weren't buying as many tickets as they usually do because they're like, this won't sell. And then they've just been like, oh no.
Yeah. Well, hopefully when AEW does come to Canada, I'm just going to sit there on like the Ticketmaster or whatever and just try to get as many tickets as possible and then just invite everybody.
Oh my God.
That's my plan at least. But yes. So we got Jake here to guest host for this exciting episode. By the time this episode comes up, the WWE Draft will be done. But we got an exciting version of this if you've seen the title of the podcast already. Before we get into that, of course, as always, if you enjoy what we do here on the podcast, please consider subscribing and following the podcast on whatever platform or app you get your podcasts on, or come watch the video version on our YouTube channel. Having you on the podcast has been fun. The podcast has definitely grown a lot since you were last on.
Yeah, I've noticed.
We got listeners from and downloads from all over the world now. I was talking to Anthony about this. I was thinking maybe every episode we should shout out like a city or something, because with the analytics you can see like the demographic of like where people are listening from, and
you should do like the old school Mick Foley cheap pop, just like, it's great to be here. Listen to in.
Just want to do a big shout out to our listeners in Brussels. Shout out to you, Brussels.
Woo! The muscles in Brussels.
But so yes, the WWE Draft has just happened. We're recording this before the Monday Night Raw episode of the draft, so we don't know where some people are going. But the draft is always fun to see and shake things up. And this time last year, we did a draft episode, a fantasy draft episode with Cody Crane, where Cody was Raw, I was SmackDown, and Anthony was NXT, and we did our own draft.
Sweet.
But I was thinking, what if AEW had to do a draft? How would that pan out? Essentially, it would never happen because it's such a bad idea.
And it's just like one guy at the top. I could see them down the line, maybe doing two distinct brands and having different EVPs on each. Not for a long time, I don't think. Like they would never do one anytime soon. That's for damn sure.
If anything, it would be funny because you could have like AEW Civil War, where it's like half the roster versus the other half of the roster. But I just figured for this episode, why don't we do a fantasy draft where we try what if AEW were to split into two brands? If it was like Dynamite versus Rampage or something, I don't know. How would we draft our own rosters? But also at the same time, we were talking about this before we started recording. The idea of GM mode coming back to wrestling video games, not just the AEW video game that's going to be coming up, but also they announced that GM mode should be in the next WWE game. And we were having we were talking nostalgia before this about SmackDown versus Raw 2006, 7, and 8 of just it's oddly satisfying how much fun GM mode was.
Oh, yeah. It's like everyone wants to book their own show, and to give a framework where you can do that. And it's a multiplayer experience where it's like, I'm going to book my show and you book your show and we'll compete for ratings. It's just a shame that hasn't been a thing in mainstream wrestling games for so long. Cause it's so fun. It
really is. Like, it is such a wrestling nerdy thing to do. But the fact that even you look back at 2006 and it's like, that's 17 years ago at this point.
Jesus.
Or not 17, sorry, 15 years ago. The fact that it was so simple, but yet so fun of you get a certain amount of money, you got to book amount of rosters, figure out who your champions are, book matches, get star ratings, figure out fans, specialty matches, manage their injuries. Like, all of it was it was basically like we were talking about a text-based adventure, and there have been since ones like that or ones where you kind of get to play and also manage, but like just the idea of like building a roster and like planning out your week to week is super fun. And so I figured what we could do for this episode is essentially take the AEW roster and book our own brands and just do like SmackDown versus Raw GM mode, where we each pick 15 and basically go like, oh, who would we make our champion? What rivalries would we have? That sort of thing.
So we're operating under the assumption that we're vacating the titles. Like, yes. or are people? Yeah. Okay. So no title holders are holding any titles, because then it would be so. I mean, Kenny would be number one pick probably. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So no titles,
because just like GM mode, you start fresh. You can assign people to be champions to start out with. But I just figured, let's just have fun. Let's do a fantasy draft, and then we can leave it up to the listeners to pick who they think has the better show. Sweet. So yeah, we'll just say like the titles are whatever.
So tag teams, are we going individual or units?
Oh, I was gonna make it. I was gonna wait till like the second or third pick and make a joke about splitting up a tag team.
Oh, okay.
But no. I think it's the same thing as like you pick a tag team. That's two people. That's two picks. Cool.
I mean, and so there's the heightened tension of like, if I pick one half of one, I better hope you're not picking the other half.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I think just for time's sake, would just say like you're picking I'm picking the Lucha Bros.
Sweet.
That's fine. Yeah. I don't care. So, the AEW roster is now quite a bit larger, which is great.
That's huge. 15. I mean,
at the same time, if there's someone that has been featured heavily, because I'll admit I have someone who has been featured heavily on Dark and Elevation that isn't official AEW that I want to sign. So I'm gonna pick an independent.
Excellent. Yeah,
but I'll let you go first.
Oh, bold move. Okay, so well, first off, I mean, not it's negligible, but who's Dynamite, who's Rampage? Just in terms of like, let's get the image here. Like,
Okay.
it doesn't matter to me. If you want to be Dynamite, go for it. If you want to be Rampage, go for it. I'll let you. If I'm picking first roster pick, you pick which brand you want.
Okay. I'll be Rampage.
Oh, okay, cool. I'll be Dynamite.
New and exciting.
Yeah. Well, I'll leave this kind of in your court because my first pick would actually be the Lucha Bros, and I feel like I'm almost cheating picking them as a single unit. So what I'm thinking is I'll pick the Lucha Bros, but then you should have two picks here because I picked two hot commodities that are both singles wrestlers as well. So I think you should get two picks here now.
Okay. Lucha Bro. Okay, well, explain just really. I mean, you barely have to explain why you would ever pick the Lucha Bros because they're incredible and amazing.
Right.
I remember really quick story. We watched together in person, which I missed, and I can't believe that was like what friggin' over a year and a half ago. Revolution, where it was the Young Bucks versus Omega and Hangman for the tag team titles.
That's a good show.
And that after we saw that and we all watched that together, I was like, this is my favorite tag team match ever.
Yeah.
I so desperately wish we could live in a different timeline where we all got to watch the Lucha Bros versus the Young Bucks in the steel cage in person together, because that's my favorite tag team match ever now. It's so
incredible. Yeah.
It's so fucking good. And like, that would just been so fun to watch with other people. Yeah.
I got lucky because I'm in New Brunswick right now, where at that time COVID was a little. I mean, it's coming back in a big way in New Brunswick right now. But at the time, so I was able to watch it with my little brother and a friend of mine who got me into wrestling. So it was interesting having a different perspective. My brother doesn't really watch wrestling, so it was interesting seeing who he was like. Oh, they're cool. And that match, just everyone across the board was just like, oh, this is so good. It was
such a good match.
Yeah, I should have made more pomp and circumstance. The first draft pick for Dynamite will be the Lucha Brothers. You know, we'll hear the music and they'll come down the ramp. But the Lucha Brothers, I mean, like, they are two bona fide single superstars put together to be one of the greatest tag teams in wrestling. So it's kind of like on all fronts. You've got like, they're incredibly charismatic, incredibly athletic. Phoenix is he's incapable of turning it down. Every single match he does, even if it's just like a throwaway match on TV or whatever, he goes 150%. It's wild. And I think either one of them would be a worthy world champion at some point. I mean, I know Penta's been the Impact champion for like, he was the champion for like, I think 6 days or something. But yeah, it's the Lucha Brothers. I gotta pick them. I gotta.
Yeah, it's hard to think of other tag teams that are such a good unit, but that then are also individually so over.
Yeah,
like
the Hardy Boys is probably the only other one I can think of off the top of my head.
Yeah, exactly. Because like, I'm more of a Penta fan myself than Phoenix, but Phoenix is incredible. But Penta is just so entertaining, like as a character. And like, what was it? There's a really funny moment, and I think it was from like a random promo with like Eddie Kingston and Penta, where like Penta does Penta does his Cero Mero, and friggin' Kingston just looks and goes, I should have thought of that. That's a good gimmick. I should have thought of that shit.
It's great. It's just everyone pops for it. Everyone does it. like it's I also was more of a Penta fan, but more and more Phoenix like, in Lucha Underground as well. It's just like he comes out and it's just like every single match Phoenix is in, I just sitting there going, Jesus Christ, this is incredible. Like by the end of the match, like it's wild. As long as they don't, I mean, the thing about them is injuries, right? Because they wrestle at such a ridiculous pace week in and week out in different promotions over, like in Mexico and in the States, like injuries are bound to mount up. So I'm going to have to account for that at some point. But for now, I'm basking in it.
They're insane. I love them. All right. So you said I get two picks for.
I think it's only fair
for AEW Rampage. my number one pick. I'm just going to go with my favorite. Like, that's what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go with my favorites and then I'll build something off of that. My number one pick is going to be my number one male wrestler.
Sweet.
The one and only all ego Ethan Page.
Oh, dope. Okay. That's a fun pick. He's great.
I love Page. I think he's so entertaining and I honestly think he's so underrated.
Yeah, I'd agree.
I do love the Men of the Year, and I love him and Scorpio being together because I think they both work so well off of each other. And Paige just has this natural ability to like really work well with like in tag teams. But I think he's just he's so entertaining and he's so good at being a piece of shit. But he's also a great wrestler, very entertaining.
He's got 2 black belts. He's got the legit cred too, you know?
Yeah. And I forget what it was. Like I was a fan of him before, but I think it was in the Darby and his rivalry with Darby. And it was the final nail in the coffin promo where I was like, this guy can really deliver in like the dramatic side of wrestling. And that's what like put him over the top for me. So I would love to see him as like a top heel, like singles wrestler. My number 2, and this is what I was saying before with I'm going to draft someone who's not actually officially on the roster.
You're going number 2 with that. Okay.
So sorry, ladies, you're all incredible and lovely people, but there's one person that I honestly think needs to get signed to AEW because she's amazing and awesome. And I love watching her wrestle. Kylan King. Number
2. I
think that she's I just love watching her wrestle. I love her gimmick. I think she has a great look. I think that she could be it's hard to tell like if she's more heel or face or whatever, but like I think that she's got a very fruitful career. And she's getting more and more exposure. And every single time I've seen her on Dynamite, every time I've seen her on AEW, whether it is Dynamite or Elevation or Dark, she kills it. And so it's just like the first person I'm like, if I was booking, I'd want to give her a chance. I'd want to see her shine and see what she can do when she's put more forward and start actually having to show off like her promo skills and her, like developing story and rivalry and stuff like that. So yeah, I just think she's awesome. So
sweet. I mean, that's a big feather in her cap already. Number 2 draft pick for Rampage. I mean, that's a big spot.
Yeah. Like obviously it's just like, I'm just picking, this is a fantasy draft. I'm going to pick favorites.
Well, yeah, now you got me thinking because I mean, there's some clear heavyweights that aren't, that I really want to pick.
There's so many people. So many people.
I think I'm going to go both ways. I'm going to pick one of my, we're talking Mount Rushmore of wrestling. This guy's on it. He's one of my favorites. And also he's just like one of the hottest commodities in wrestling right now. I feel cheap doing this, but I go with the American Dragon, Bryan Danielson.
Hey, fair enough.
I mean, he can do no wrong in my opinion. Like I've been a huge fan of his since, his entire career has just been electric. And like, I remember when he was the heel champ or when the Yes stuff started, but it was a heel thing. And it was just him celebrating like he won the Super Bowl after he cashed in. I was just like, this guy is hilarious. Like, I love this. And just every single, even the stuff in his career that I haven't been crazy that in the moment, I like when his first return came back and he was not his first return, like his return where he was feuding with the Miz after being, retired for a full year. When that kind of dragged on too long, it perfectly transitioned into him being a heel champion right after that. So it's like that even just justifies that for me. I don't know. He's great. He's incredible. Bryan Danielson. What can I say?
Yeah, no. Danielson can do no wrong.
Yeah.
It seems. And yeah, he's an incredible wrestler. And it's so funny how he's so good, yet he still has that sort of underdog mentality.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, of course how could you deny that?
Yeah.
My third pick for Rampage. I mean, that's the thing is you go, not necessarily Mount Rushmore, but like, who do I think is one of the best in today current wrestling, and who delivers, and who is a draw, and who's good every single time they step into the ring? The one and only Jon Moxley.
Jon Moxley. Yeah, that's a good pick.
I just love Mox. Mox is great. Like,
yeah.
It's really funny now looking at like 2 years later, like this coming week that this podcast is coming out is the 2-year anniversary of Dynamite. And it's crazy to look back and go,
the card looks so good.
Remember when at Double or Nothing, when all of a sudden Dean Ambrose, aka Jon Moxley, shows up and changed the landscape of professional wrestling?
Yeah.
and now where he's been and what we've done.
Like, and then goes to Japan, does the G1, and like he's super over in Japan. Like, I was reading apparently that this Forbidden Door stuff, apparently the biggest reason that happened is Jon Moxley, and not actually like all the people who actually had worked in Japan, like Kenny Omega and all that. It's because Japan wanted Moxley, and they couldn't bring him to Japan because of the pandemic. So if they wanted him, they had to play ball with AEW. Apparently that was one of the major reasons, the Forbidden Door. So even that alone, like, come on, like, give it up for him.
I always loved Moxley's style, and I obviously like watching AEW since the beginning, him coming in and having that sort of freedom to do the style that he wants, and be the character that he wants to, like, it was such a breath of fresh air, especially with like what he was doing as Dean Ambrose near the end of his run. Yes. And all of a sudden he comes in and he just kills it. And he's a staple of AEW. And like, when you think of AEW, he's one of the first people I instantly recognize with the brand. So again, is one of those people that's like, you can do no wrong with Jon Moxley. Yeah. So that's my pick.
Well, I mean, on that, I'm going to pick another person who I think is synonymous with AEW and will always be considered, inseparable from the brand of AEW. And, if Bryan Danielson's on my Mount Rushmore, if I'm talking top 5 wrestlers of all time, I can't believe 2 of them are in the same company in the same era and faced each other last week. I'm picking Kenny by God Omega for my fourth pick, I guess.
I'm sure there are people that would be listening and go, why didn't you pick Kenny Omega first?
Exactly. Well, yeah, like, I can't let him. The thing is, I didn't want to pick him off the top, but I feel like it's a disservice to the man to let him go too far down the list. Like, in my opinion, like, he's one of my favorite wrestlers of all time. I think he's one of the greatest wrestlers of all time. And I it gets that word, that term greatest of all time gets thrown around a lot for people who aren't even like retired or aren't even like, but I think him and Bryan Danielson both are worthy of the title. Like, he can do any style. He can do any style and have it be excellent. He can do goofy comedy. He can do 60-minute Broadway, draws like the old school NWA matches. He can do death matches. He can do tag matches. He can do he can do everything.
He can do comedy so well too. Yeah. He's so goofy.
He's like, so when he comes out.
If you really pay attention to Kenny Omega, what he's doing certain stuff, he's so like, just this past week on Rampage, what was it? It was Danielson versus Nick Jackson. And at the very end, Kenny's there and he's like, should I go in the ring? And he's looking in the eyes, like, should I go in the ring? Should I go in there and fight them? And he's being he's hamming it up, and he's so, and you look at it, you're like, that's the world champion. Yeah. But he's so good. So
good. And he can do, like, he was a junior heavyweight in Japan. He did the cruiserweight style. He did the heavy, like, he does he can do anything. Like, I don't know. You can put him in any position, he's going to excel. So I got to pick him. Kenny Omega from North Carolina. Not really though.
North Carolina. Let's see.
Okay, I got to pick someone less starstruck next time.
Let's see. So right now I have like basically a top heel, a top baby face. Yeah, let's, you know what? I have who I think I'll have as a top baby face. Women. So I'm going to pick who I think is easily the best female heel that ever existed in wrestling. DMD.
Legit. That was my next pick because I was like, I got to pick her. I've got the shirt on and you beat me to it.
Dr. Britt Baker. I've been a fan of Britt since I never really followed her before AEW, and she was she? No, Allie was the first pick, first woman to be signed with AEW. I'm pretty sure.
That checks out, but that's also so weird because she didn't wrestle for so long. Maybe she was injured behind the scenes or something, but I thought it was so weird that she wasn't wrestling and she was just a valet for so long.
But Britt, like, I didn't mind Britt as a face. Like, Britt as a face, like, you could tell like they were really trying to push her as that. And it's like, well, yeah, because on the indies, like, people love you and like you're the doctor and all this stuff. As soon as that heel turn came, and as soon as she started getting mean, and after the broken nose and all that stuff, like, she came into her own, and it was the most entertaining thing ever. And like, as soon as that happened, I was all for it. And I went, no, the Britt Baker is the best. She's going to get the title sooner or later. There were so many times where Sheeta would be facing, like, it's like, okay, here is another opponent. Oh, she beat her. Oh, here's another. Okay, who's going to face Sheeta next? And every single time I went, it's got to be Britt. It's got to be Britt. Yeah. It's got to be Britt. And they saved it for fans coming back, which is good. But that lights out match with Thunder Rosa is one of the, and I have that shirt. I have the shirt for her. It's that one with like, it says role model, and it's her with the bloody face and everything. And it's one of my favorite AEW shirts. And it's also the one I get the most questions about when I wear it, because people go, what's that? And I am like, oh, well.
It's the same with this one. I can't really wear this one out a whole lot, but I love it.
It's, what's that? Oh, well, this is a shirt for a women's wrestler who's also a dentist. So and she's badass.
It's funny, like, women. They're just like two big women wrestlers whose careers have taken off after getting their nose busted. Like, because Becky Lynch the year before too, like after getting her nose busted, just became a fucking icon. Like, can I swear on this? I can't remember.
Yeah.
Okay, sweet.
it's. I mean, does that just go to show that, like, if you let women do like crazy ass stuff in the ring, they'll get super over because people go, hell yeah.
Let them do what the men do. You know what I mean? Like, let them do hardcore stuff. Let them do, like,
I'm waiting for a women's ladder match in AEW. That will be cool.
Ooh, yeah. Have they not done one? I guess not, eh? Yeah. Because they've done the battle royals, but they haven't. No, they probably. I can't think of them ever doing one.
There's only been 2 ladder matches in all of AEW. Oh no, 3. There's been 3.
Do they have
4? Damn it.
I'm trying to think. Do they have someone on the women's roster who's like a high flyer who would be really good in that kind of environment? I'm trying to think. That style doesn't really.
I'm looking at the roster right now.
Chris Statlander's got some top rope moves, I guess.
The only person I can think of is Riho.
Yeah, Yuka Sakazaki, I think. has some top rope
Yeah,
stuff.
that's interesting. You look at the AEW women's roster and you're like, none of these people are like high flyers. They're mostly like, Ruby could do some of that, I guess. But yeah, no, I think it would just be a very entertaining match of.
Yeah, well, I mean, while we're looking at the women's roster, I'm gonna pick the person. I mean, now that you've picked the person on my shirt, before I got a chance to, I dawdled. I'm gonna pick the person who I really hope is the one to eventually dethrone Britt, and I think is the most over woman on the roster and has been for a full year, in my opinion. Even more, I mean, Britt's arguable. Britt's probably more over, but in my opinion, I think Thunder Rosa is so over and she's so good, and she's my next pick. I think she's fantastic.
Rosa will be champion. Like,
oh yeah,
I like, you look at you think of who's been with the company, like who there's only so many people that were like, everybody was so excited when they signed with AEW, and like they finally signed Rosa, and it was so funny. Rosa came in as like, hey, I'm the NWA Women's Champion and I'm here just to like do some matches. And then like everybody was like, this chick's awesome. Like we want more of her. And now she is wrestling on basically every single show.
Yeah.
Like
she's so over. Like
she has a match. I would like to go back and see the statistics, but I'm pretty sure she has opened at least the last 5 or 6 elevations. She usually is always the first match of AEW Elevation.
Yeah, I think she's been the most featured women's wrestler. I mean, I say that Penelope Ford has been like on every Dynamite for like a month, weirdly.
Yeah, I like Penelope. But
I like Penelope, and also Penelope's someone who I didn't like at all. And I think if there was like a most improved category, where Penelope was a year ago versus where Penelope is now, it's shocking. Wow. Like, I used to think she was quite bad in the ring, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh my God, she got so good. Like,
I think she lost about 200 pounds of dead weight. Honestly,
yes.
I love Kip, but at the same time, I'm like, you don't. She could just be by herself, and she'll do great, and she'll be.
I don't like him. I think he is the weakest member of the entire AEW roster, in my opinion, personally. Anyway. But yeah.
Anyway, sorry, Kip, if you're listening. Yeah. But Thunder Rosa, yes, I agree.
Oh, yeah, incredible.
100%. All right. Let's see here. So this is now going to be number 5. We need to speed up a little bit. But we're also like going into like everybody that we love so much. I'm going to go for a tag team.
Do it.
I'm going to go for a tag team. Who is the question? No, I know who. Up and comers. One of them is, I would say, the person that I think has gotten the most non-wrestling fans into, or non-AEW fans into AEW, at least like, well, maybe both of them have, but like one of them is like a person that I have seen so many people go, oh, I wasn't really into AEW, or I haven't watched wrestling forever. And then I see this person, I'm like, oh my God, I love this person. Why aren't they featured more? And the other is regarded as one of the 4 pillars of AEW, the future of AEW. I got to go with Jurassic Express.
Jurassic Express. I was wondering what tag team you're talking about. Yeah.
Jungle Boy is regarded as one of the 4 pillars.
Yeah.
Now they're kind of like they're like building this idea of like there are the 4 pillars of AEW are Jungle Boy, MJF, Darby Allin, and Sammy Guevara.
Which has been like talked about a little bit online, but I'm glad they actually like have made it like a story thing. It's cool.
And then I have seen so many people say like they watch AEW for the first time or like, oh, well, I'm going to tune in. I'm going to see. And the second they see Luchasaurus, they go, I love this. Who is this guy? What's going on? I want to see more of this guy.
Oh, it's a great gimmick. Yeah.
And I think they're a great tag team. And I know like Jungle Boy is being, as you know, he's pushed to the moon, but I love them as a tag team. And I think they work so great together. And even if it is like Jungle Boy is the main focus, like having a guy next to him like Luchasaurus is like the perfect combination. And so,
I mean, like their original name was A Boy and His Dinosaur, which I think is fantastic.
Yeah, I always loved that name. And Jurassic Express, I was kind of like, yeah, okay.
I mean, I get that they want to shy away from the boy stuff, like, you know, and that's why because JR was always getting flack for calling him Jack Perry. And eventually he was like, well, listen, at some point when he's older, he can't just be called Jungle Boy anymore. Like he's got to at some point be Jungle Boy Jack Perry and then eventually Jack Perry. And it's like, that makes sense. True. You don't want to see like, I mean, X-Pac doesn't come out as a 1, 2, 3 kid. And you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, no, exactly. So,
Jungle Boy's great. He's awesome. He's
Jungle
fantastic.
Boy and Luchasaurus.
Yeah.
Great
Luchasaurus
tag team.
Hopefully
eventually they will be tag team champions.
Oh, I got to imagine.
Yeah.
At some point. Yeah. Well, I mean, if you're picking a tag team, I'm gonna jump in.
That's my 5 and 6 pick.
5 and 6. Well, just to make things easy, I'll pick a tag team too. And because you picked the one on my shirt, I'm going to pick the one on my hat and pick the Young Bucks. You know, I got to pick something I'm wearing. And why not pick one of the greatest tag teams of all time? Why not? You know,
I love
you're going to pick one of the greatest tag teams of all time.
I love the Young Bucks. Not a big fan of the Young Bucks. I don't know.
That's the reaction they get, and it's great.
Yeah, like
they are so divisive, and I love it.
They're so great in the ring. They're so great in the ring. You can't deny that. But at the same time, I don't know. The Young Bucks have never just clicked into my brain as like, I love them. I've always just like, they're so entertaining. I just can't. I'm always so against them.
That's what I think makes them so great. They're such great wankers. They come out with the danglies, and it's like, how can you not hate them? It's amazing. Like they're so good at making people hate them.
Friggin' Nick with dyeing his fucking beard.
Man.
Like, oh my gosh.
Constantly one-upping themselves in terms of douchey like accessories coming out. It's incredible. I love the Young Bucks. I always have. I think they're fantastic.
I do think that they are. I always talk about BTE on here, but I think that the BTE is so good, and I think they're so funny on BTE.
Yeah.
So the Young Bucks. Yeah, one of the greatest tag teams, you know? For sure.
Balls back in your court. What are we? So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
I got. I'm stuck between two. There's so many people. I'm stuck between a couple, but I think I got a heel, face, heel, faces. I need to go with a good heel and someone that. Yes, he might not be a pillar of AEW because he wasn't in AEW since the beginning, but I think he is a future big time champion. Got to go with the current FTW champion, Ricky Starks.
Absolute Ricky Starks. Yeah, he's incredible.
He is so good.
I wish they'd do more with that belt. I wish they would defend it on Dark or something. Like it's just an accessory, and I understand that's kind of always what it's been. But it's a shame because Ricky is so good. It's good to see him have a belt. You know, he's charisma, man. He is charisma.
He's really good in the ring. He's so excellent on the mic. And like, yes, a lot of people will compare him to like early Rock, you know, but I think the more that he gets featured and the more that he's going to be out like doing stuff and developing like more of his character and everything, like I'll be very interested to see what happens when eventually he leaves Team Taz or Team Taz dissolves or something like that. And see where he goes on his own. Because, you know, he's basically been in Team Taz since he came in. Same with, you know, Brian Cage and Hobbs. But I'm very interested to see where he eventually goes, and I can see him being a top star. So Yeah.
Totally. I agree. He's a fun fact that someone told me, I didn't realize this. Apparently he's really tight with the Undertaker in real life. And apparently when he was on the indie scene, he would get Taker to watch some of his matches and give him tips and stuff.
That's
Because
interesting.
they're both from Texas. Like apparently they know each other somehow and they're pretty close in real life, which is kind of a strange connection. Like you wouldn't expect those two guys to be tight.
All right. We're about halfway through.
Yeah, I need some young blood. I need some young blood in here. I got some legends and I'm looking around the room and like, it's a shame because like, so I'm going to pick another tag team because I was going to pick this guy solo, but I feel like it's a disservice. It's unlucky because his partner, they came in, they're hot as hell. And one of them got injured, unfortunately, very quick.
Right. Colton and Austin Gunn. Yep.
Colton and Austin Gunn. No, I'm picking Top Flight.
Undefeated, by the way. Undefeated. Yeah, this is insane. You go to Colton Gunn's friggin' stat. Just a side tangent. You go to Colton Gunn's stats.
Yeah.
They are so right when they point out this whole like, hey, we're undefeated and like we're not even ranked. Colton Gunn, singles 0-0.
I debated picking the Gun Club just because kayfabe. Why wouldn't I? If this was kayfabe, if this was all in kayfabe and I'm looking at win losses, why wouldn't I pick the Gun Club?
Tag team and trios 10-0.
Yeah.
2021 overall.
It's just
21-0 career 27-0.
Yeah, like, it's ridiculous. Yeah. I am tempted, but I'm going to go with Top Flight because Dante Martin is just
Top Flight's so good.
It's like, and like I feel bad for Darius because he's been. I don't know what it is. I don't know what the injury was. I'm going to look it up real quick because I can't remember.
I don't know either. I saw him.
It's a real shame, though.
I was watching Ethan Page's vlog, and they were both on there, and he seemed okay.
ACL.
Okay. I think he might be nearing the end of that injury.
He must be, yeah.
But that, that's a long-term injury, so that's tricky.
Yeah, and like Dante's just been killing it. So like I'm going to take Top Flight because I was going to just pick Dante, but like Darius is he's coming off of injury soon, so they'll.
I hope that when he comes back, they give Darius like some time to like do some singles to show off.
Yeah. I will. Don't worry.
Nice.
He's on my roster. I will.
All right. So how many do you have right now?
1, 2, 3, 4. See, I picked 3 tag teams, which is maybe not the best idea, but 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh, Jesus, I'm at 9. I got to stop picking tag teams.
Best tag team division in the world.
Yeah, it's true. My tag team division is going to be.
And they can all do singles too. It's not like they're stuck.
Yeah.
So wait, how many in total do you have?
I think I've got 9 total. Yeah, 9.
Okay, so I get to pick 2. Okay.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, then that makes. You know what? There's a famous quote by the current WWE champion, hopefully still current. By the time this comes out, it should be.
I don't know why after Crown Jewel.
I don't know why it's before.
Okay,
I don't know why he'd suddenly lose it on Monday Night Raw. But
yeah,
a favorite quote of Biggie here on the podcast, as we always mention it, is big men slapping meat.
Yeah.
And so who are the 2 biggest men's in AEW? Both, again, building towards the future. That's what we're doing on Rampage. We're building towards the future. Totally. We see people, we see their potential, we see their stardom. So I'm picking a goodie and a baddie, 2 big men who hopefully one day will have a killer 5-minute finisher spamming match. I'm going Powerhouse Hobbs.
Nice.
And Press Tan Vance.
Interesting.
I love Preston. Preston's
He's such
so
a handsome
great.
boy under his mask.
Preston is so great. He's got so much potential. He's awesome. We also love him on Twitter because we did a couple episodes back where we did Sean Spears versus Preston. So it was 10 versus 10.
Yeah. Nice.
And he like retweeted and everything and shared it and stuff. And it was so
awesome.
cool. He's super like active on Twitter with sharing like tweets at him and stuff. And he will be future TNT champion. He has to be. But also I see them both as like the future. Definitely eventually Preston will lose his mask. Because
he's so handsome. He's such a
he
handsome
is so
boy.
handsome. He is so handsome.
He's gotta lose his mask at some point.
He's so
but
over.
Then again, that's the WCW logic where they took the mask off of Juventud and Ray because they're handsome.
Yeah.
You know?
No, that
it's a bit different.
I think that he's phenomenal. He's so fun and he's so over and he hasn't really done like you think about if you just watch him on like AEW TV, he hasn't really done that much, but he's so over.
Yeah.
And he has such a following.
He doesn't need to do that much to be so over. So why, like exactly. I think at some point when the Dark Order, like also like, isn't he like relatively new in terms of wrestling or I'm looking, oh no, I guess he's sure. 2015. Okay. Yeah.
He's really good friends NXT? With I think probably really quickly, maybe
a single episode. Yeah.
There you go. He's really good friends with Cody Rhodes. He trained under the Nightmare Factory, all that stuff. But like, I loved when Dark Order is one of my favorite groups in wrestling. And when he came in with Brody Lee and it was just like, hey, this group needs some muscle. Let's get the biggest dude we can find.
Yeah. He's just bring him in. I always forget how big he is until I see him. It's like,
when you put him against, when you stack him up against everyone else in the Dark Order, you're like, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
And then Powerhouse Hobbs is another one of those guys that you look at and you go, you're the future. You're so good. And he's getting way better on the mic too. And he's getting personality. And his match with CM Punk was so damn good.
Yeah. Well, he was one of the ones CM Punk was like, I want to work with Powerhouse Hobbs.
He's getting there. He's going to be like, I can see him having like big time, like a cool mix of like Goldberg and Booker T. Like I could see him like having like that sort of attitude and that sort of like mentality and like a little bit of Mark Henry influence too. Like he's got a great future. So those two guys, two huge dudes joining Rampage.
So here's the thing. We're only picking up to 15, eh?
Yes. Well,
how are we going to possibly book a women's division with 15 people? Because I'm only going to have like...
I have 2 right now. So
yeah.
Well, we're going to do 15 because we also only have time for 15.
Yeah, true. So can we assume that we're going to have other women come in and other guys?
But this is like our first starting.
Yeah, and sure.
You go from there.
I am going to pick another woman for the women's division. I'm just torn because I'm torn between 2. And I kind of want to just go with my gut. I'm going to go with my gut. I'm going to go with my initial instinct and pick the woman of 1,000 holds, Serena Deeb. Every single match she has had in AEW has been just awesome. And even I was watching with my brother, who's not a huge wrestling fan. So it was really interesting to see who he picked up on. And we watched, I think, Full Gear last year. And she had a match on the pre-show, I think with Rio, maybe. It might have been Rio. I can't remember who she fought. But
yes, that was Rio.
I was really interested to find out that him and his friend, who was like a casual wrestling fan, were really on board with Serena Deeb, which is like cool because she's not the kind of person you'd expect to really attract like casual fans, like because she's very like fundamental based and but like she's just that good, right? Like and it looks like a legit athletic contest. She's great. I'm picking Serena Deeb.
Serena Deeb's awesome for sure. Got me thinking about the women's division. It's tough. Do I pick star power? Do I pick my favorites?
Yeah, see, that's where
So
I was
many
at too.
good. Honestly, you know how people were saying for the longest time, "Oh, NXT is the best women's division." I think that's shifted now. I think AEW
Especially if
honestly
you
has the
factor in
best women's
call
division.
ups too, like, yeah, I would definitely say so.
Like, there's just so many good women in this company. You know what? I'm gonna go again with picking someone that is just a favorite. They're popular, but I think just with, it's not like you go for like the Chris Statlanders or the Nyla Roses or the Ruby Sohos or the Tay Contes. I'm going for someone that is too legit.
Nice.
Legit Layla Hirsch.
Yeah.
I love Layla Hirsch. It's that thing of like, it's definitely that thing of like, she would come out and I go, who? It's that instant thing of like, who is she? What? Wait, what? She's how tall? And then, but she can fucking back. I would not want to get in a fight with Layla Hirsch.
Oh,
she would fuck me up.
Well, like she's similar to Serena Deeb in the sense where it's like, it looks real, like
yes.
she is a wrestling champ.
I don't know why more people didn't like freak out about this. She German suplexed Nyla Rose in the Battle Royale.
She's a beast. She's a tank.
That's like friggin' Rey Mysterio suplexing like Mark Henry. Like, why didn't no one freak out about that moment? I was sitting there watching. I went, "Oh my god, this is the greatest moment! Why aren't they like hyping this up?"
And I think something that's underrated in wrestling is unique body types. Like, I think it's really interesting seeing, because just like as watching people wrestle, like you want to see interesting matchups, even just in terms of body type. And she's like short and stocky, but like her base of gravity is so low, but she's so built and ripped. Like, it's just really interesting. You can put her with anyone and it's an interesting matchup because no one's built like her. Her
and Jade Cargill, when they went against each other, was really, really, really interesting. It was actually a really good match. And I thought it was honestly the best that Jade had looked. And that probably has to do with going against someone that's as technically skilled as Layla. So that's why I pick Layla. Is I think she's a technical. Yeah, she's technically masterful, but she is also always seen as like the ultimate underdog. But I think she's just so damn good.
Okay, so we talked about these 4 pillars and we've only picked one of them.
We're at 10 so far, so we got to do these next 5 a little bit quicker.
Let's just bang them out then. I'm going to pick.
One of the 4 pillars, like.
Out of the 4 remaining, see, I was thinking about this 4 pillars thing the other day. This is probably going to be not I'd say lukewarm take, not a hot take, but in terms of a complete package, I think out of the 4 pillars, each one excels in a certain area. Jungle Boy is incredibly athletic and acrobatic in the ring, but his promos are still on the weak side. MJF is great in the ring for sure, but his promos are on another level. But he's never been one that's been like absolutely stunning in the ring. He's awesome in the ring, but it's just not, it's the style too. He's not as flashy. I think Sammy Guevara, out of all of them, is the complete package in terms of like, I don't think out of the 4 he's the best in the ring. I don't think he's the best promo out of the 4, but in terms of all of it together in one package, he's the best all round one in the 4.
Yes.
So I'm going to take Sammy Guevara.
When he has a chance to talk, he's great.
Yeah.
His matches are always good.
Yeah.
But I agree with you where he's like a triple threat.
He's got all the pieces and he doesn't have any weaknesses, I think. Like he's a great talker. He's great in the ring. He's got the showy spots. He's got the great character stuff. Even the thing with the cue cards, that's such a great gimmick to own. Like that's his kind of thing now. And I think like when he first came out like that, I was like, that's so clever. That's awesome. Like Sammy Guevara, I'm taking him.
There's so many people. There's so many people. It's absolutely crazy. You know what? I gotta go with this person. It probably would be more on the top of a lot of people's list, but I'm just gonna grab him anyways because he's really good and you can kind of stick him wherever. And he's such a draw. Gotta go with Orange Cassidy.
Yeah, I was tempted. That's a good pick.
You know, what can you say about Orange? What can you not say about Orange Cassidy to be like, yeah, of course. Like, I love Orange and I think he's amazing. He just wasn't at the top of at the top of my top 10 that I've picked.
Yeah.
But I mean, he can kind of be put wherever. Like, again, what was it? I was listening to the AEW really quickly. I was listening to the AEW Unrestricted podcast, and they had Bryce Remsburg on, and they were talking about his relationship with Orange, because they basically came up in wrestling together. And they had talked about all these milestones of like people saying like Orange would never be over. Well, he is over. He would never be featured on like national TV. He'd never go against someone as good as Chris Jericho. He did, and beat him. He would never be in a title shot. And he was in like an incredible triple threat between.
I think statistically speaking, he's been the one who has had the most world title challenges.
That's
I could
crazy.
be wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure Orange Cassidy has the most world title challenges out of any wrestler. Because I mean, like he faced, he faced Moxley, he's faced Omega, he faced
Brody, he faced.
Oh, like, actually, singles championships. He's definitely had the most challenges. Yeah, but I think also world title. I could be wrong about the world title part, but singles championships, he's definitely had the most challenges. And the thing is, I think the only reason he hasn't won a belt is because his character doesn't need it.
No, he doesn't.
They don't need to put a title on Orange Cassidy because the character works so well without it because he's not. In fact, I almost want to see him give away a world championship match because he doesn't care. He doesn't need a title. Like the stuff with Rampage when he was talking, like the promo before where it's like, I don't even know what's going on. What is this match? Like, that's great. Like, why would he need a title? Like, he doesn't, he doesn't give a shit. Like, I think that's awesome.
Yeah, no. Orange is just, he's so fun. He's just so fun. Alrighty. We are at, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So I got 4 more to pick.
I was torn between two guys in terms of career trajectory. They're similar. They're both in their mid 30s. They're both WWE guys who were underutilized and people were very mad that they're underutilized, and they both have been excelling in AEW. I'm going to just pick between them, and I'm going to pick just purely, I like them both a lot. They're both really great, but I'm going to pick Malachi Black. He's fantastic. I really big Malachi Black fan.
Oh,
yeah. We don't need to go into it. We can go right to the next pick, but he's just great. He's great.
I think, again, it's that thing of like, I'm sure there's probably someone that listens to this podcast and goes, you guys really love AEW. It's like, yes, because
it's great.
It's just good. Like, I don't know how to explain it. It's just good. It just fills my need of wrestling. And like, as soon as he came into AEW, is like, this is the potential he had. Yeah. That WWE fucked up.
Well, it's like, and to give WWE credit too, like his NXT run, I thought was fantastic, and they really understood what to do with him. And then once he got to the main roster, they just didn't do that. It was so weird, and it's unfortunate because I think they were about to too. Like he had a new theme that was about to come out. Like he had. I think it was just an unfortunate release out of nowhere, kind of like
he was supposed to have a feud with Big E.
Oh, cool. That'd be fun.
His last appearance was his return after
sitting in a closet somewhere in the stadium telling people to knock on his door for about 8 months. Right.
Well, and then he was doing this thing of like he was developing the House of Black, and it was like reading from his father's like journal or something. Like it was kind of but at the same time, like then all of a sudden he came out and he surprised attacked Big E, and the week later he was released.
He shouldn't have messed with Big E. He shouldn't have messed with him. That got him fired. Shame on you, Black.
But no, Malachi Black's awesome. Oh, this is tricky. I've got 4 more left. Who do I pick? You know what? Oh, I think the reason why I didn't think of this guy sooner is because we haven't seen him on TV. Is he going to show up on TV this week as the Joker in the ladder match to get a world title shot? Maybe. It's Hangman Adam Page.
Yeah. I mean, I honestly, I think they're just. I feel like they're keeping Page off TV until they're ready to have Omega lose the title. Basically, I feel like they're just kind of waiting to bring Page back to beat Omega for the title, and until then, they're going to keep him off TV.
I don't know. I honestly,
he's being a dad. You can't,
I think he probably was going to. I mean, who knows? In my mind, I think he probably was expected to win the title, but then a couple of things. One, he became a dad.
Yeah.
And he wanted to take the maternity leave. So fair. Then they suddenly had the ability to get Punk.
Yeah.
Bryan Danielson and Adam Cole.
There's all these big money matchups that they want to do before he drops it, right?
Yeah. It's like, okay, well, this is kind of like, yeah, it sucks that he lost this match. But we get all these matches lined up and we're going to have these feuds going on. And then we'll bring him back. I don't know if he's going to make his return in the ladder match for the world title shot. It would be a big pop, I think, because he's gone. Yeah. I think he's been away long enough where his return would be pretty damn big. But then again, you never know. It could be someone totally wild. It could be someone we don't expect at all. But
Shane McMahon. Here comes the money.
Right. Yes. I forgot he has Shane.
I would pop so hard. I don't even care.
I would pop too.
The shock of it.
But
oh my God.
My favorite thing is with a lot of the speculation and a lot of the like people who like look way too deep into stuff. My favorite thing ever with AEW specifically is that Kenny Omega has never changed his Twitter banner. At the top of his Twitter profile, he has not changed his banner, and it's the first Full Gear promo banner, and on it are 4 people: Chris Jericho, Jon Moxley, Kenny Omega, and Hangman Adam Page.
Interesting. I didn't know that.
And so people speculate that the reason why he's never changed it is because those are going to be the first 4 AEW world champions.
Oh, dope. That's awesome. I agree. I think the thing is, I have no problem with the way Page's position right now. I think it's actually, he's in such a good spot because I think they can bring him back whenever and he'll get a monster pop no matter what. They can leave it as long as they want. And the thing is, it's also not one of those things where it's like, oh, like AEW, why don't they bring Hangman Page back? Like what a terrible booking decision, because he's being a dad. How can you be mad at that? Right. You know what I mean? Like he wanted to spend some time with his kid. If he wants to spend more time, that's great. Like it's kind of a win-win in my opinion. And then when they bring him back, he's going to be hot as hell and he'll probably win the title. So like, whenever they want to bring him back is great, I think.
Yeah, exactly. So can't go wrong with Adam Page.
So I only got 3 picks left here, eh? And it's a shame that I'm picking Brody Lee Jr. as one of them now.
The true future of our industry. Exactly. The true future of our industry. Going to have on record the longest career of anyone. Because he started when he was 10.
He started so friggin' early.
Yeah.
I keep, when I keep scrolling through this, I keep looking at him over and over and over. And I just got to take him at this point. I think there's 3 guys that I keep looking, so I might as well just pick them. And I'm going to pick, the meat man, Johnny Hungy, right? Johnny Hungy. He's so hungy. I think John Silver is so good at what he does.
Just by himself, not Ann Reynolds.
I only got 3 picks left. I can't take Reynolds too. I'm sorry. He's just a big ball of meat and charisma, and I think he's money. John Silver's great. I would love to see him be TNT champion someday. I hope he is. I hope he wins a singles title at some point because he deserves it.
Yeah, no, dude, Silver is great. Everyone in the Dark Order is fantastic, but Silver is obviously like so goofy, but then as soon as he like gets to do anything, as soon as he, whenever he does, gets to do a match and he does that like combination of like just wrecking everybody in those tag team matches, like everybody pops. It's so good.
I think he's like a fantastic mix of like, I don't know who it's a mix with, but he's like all the good part of him to me. He's all the good parts of Ultimate Warrior in a weird way in terms of the intensity.
Okay.
Like when he does the intensity stuff of Ultimate Warrior, but then it can also like do like he's actually so athletic and acrobatic, but like, you know what I mean? Like the thing everyone loved about Warrior was him coming in and just the intensity and him shaking the ropes and the fire. And it's like Silver's got that at any second. And also he can fucking go. So like, he's great.
Mm-hmm. For sure. All right. 3 picks left. I'm already going to tell you right now, I'm going to do another woman and then a tag team.
I should do another woman, but I probably won't.
Right now with the women I have, I got Kylan King, I got Britt Baker, and I got Layla Hirsch. So it's like a heel would be good. I got kind of like a powerhouse, an underdog, a good talker. Should I get someone that's more athletic or an all around? She's new, so it kind of feels fun. I'm a big fan of people like Chris Statlander, Anna Jay, Allie the Bunny, Tay Conte, but I just feel like I think that this person has found their home in AEW. So I'm going to go with Ruby Soho.
Yeah, good pick. You know what? I am going to pick another. I'm going to pick
Ruby's
another
one. Just quickly, Ruby's fantastic, and the second that she entered AEW, it's like this feels so right. Like, it just feels so right. Totally. So,
yeah. So here's where I'm between with the women. Ruby was one of them, but you picked her, so she's off the table anyway. So I was between Chris Statlander, Jamie Hayter, and Hikaru Shida, and I'm going to pick. Because I think Jamie Hayter's awesome. And when she left AEW, I was so bummed. She only did a few matches in AEW. And I remember being like, she was a standout for me because I was like, who is that? She's such a fantastic heel. She's constantly working. Like her psychology is so good. Like she's such a great heel in the ring. But I'm going to go with Chris Statlander because that's someone who I didn't like Chris Statlander when she first debuted. And she has consistently won me over since she's come back every single minute she's been on screen. And I'm just like, and I never realized how much of a powerhouse she is. Like she's got a big frame and she's got a lot of strength and also but also can go to the top rope and hit these splashes and stuff. Like she's awesome. I'm going to pick Chris Statlander. And side note, I think Orange Cassidy's music, the Pixies music, I think it fits Chris Statlander as good, if not even better than it fits. When she comes out with Orange Cassidy's music, but the gimmick, everything makes sense to me.
I 100%, I totally agree.
I think that's 14. Real quick, I really need to use the washer.
Statlander is, we're going to finish here in a second. So, Statlander is one of my favorite returns ever in AEW.
Yo, the arcade cabinet. Yeah,
the arcade cabinet was so good. The arcade cabinet was so good. All right. We're going to wrap this up. My final 2 picks are a tag team.
Oh, dope.
One of my favorite tag teams within AEW. Definitely going to be champions someday. Have won me over completely from when they first came in because they were so hyped when they came in and I didn't know too much about them. And the street fight that they had with the Best Friends totally won me over. And I love them so much. And that's one of my favorite. That is up there with one of my favorite tag teams. And also personally, one of the best tag team matches in AEW, top 3. Proud and Powerful. Santana Ortiz. So
fantastic.
Good. And now
those are guys too, individually, I think they could be single stars too, especially Santana on the mic has gotten so good.
Yeah. And like, they have totally won over people as like baby faces.
Yeah.
And I was like, I think that the Lucha Brothers I think since they've won the tag team titles, it was way too soon. I hope that within the next year, AEW goes back to New York, goes back to the Arthur Ashe Stadium, and the Santana Ortiz get the chance to win the tag titles in New York, because I think that would just be like the coolest moment.
Oh, it'd be so cool. Like, I was going through a big phase where I was trying to catch up on a lot of the Impact big pay-per-views that I missed. And that was a standout, like all the LAX stuff, where they were feuding with Eddie Kingston, funnily enough. They're just fantastic. To me, it's such a petty little tiny thing. To me, the only downside to Santana Ortiz is I don't like the tag team name Proud and Powerful. I don't like it. It feels awkward to say, personally. That's such a small nitpick. I think they're so good. They're like individually together. They've got the intensity. They've got the work rate. It's awesome. I'm so glad you picked them, because I've been tempted to pick them every round, but I didn't want to pick any more goddamn tag teams.
But so that's my 15. And I think that means that you have one more.
Yeah. And it's a toughie, man. So let me pick. Here's some ones that I like that I'm not picking, but just like, I wish I did.
It's tough, but you have the pick of the litter. You have so many good people to pick.
Well, yeah, I'll just rattle off some names that I was going to pick, but don't have the spots anymore. FTR, they're incredible. Miro, there's still two pillars out there, MJF and Darby, and I don't think either of them have been picked, which is unfortunate because they're great. You got Joey Janela as a dark horse pick. I was tempted, but
my dark horse would have been Fuego.
Fuego, also very good dark horse. CM Punk also hasn't been picked.
I know. There's Punk.
Is so short. Jericho, like former champion. Cody Rhodes, another EVP. There's so many.
But you got Pac.
Yeah. Well, it's actually between my last pick is between Pac, who is just like, because then I've got Death Triangle, which is really fun, and also Pac. Unfortunately, because he's been away so long, there's so many matchups that haven't happened yet. That'd be so money. And then someone who's young and maybe a little unproven, but has an exciting career, Brian Pillman Jr. So I'm torn between those two, but I got to go with Pac. I love Pac. He's incredible. Ever since, his NXT championship run was great. His stuff on 205 Live, where like the show was like doomed, but he was coming out just as like a miserable asshole. Then he just embraced it and straight up became the bastard. It's great. Love it. I'm picking Pac.
Pac is great. No, there's so many people on this roster that you sit there and you go, oh man, like honestly, some people I would have picked, I would easily just add, if this went to like 20 or 25, it's like I'd 100% get Wardlow. I get Best Friends, Sting.
CM Punk is just like, we didn't pick CM Punk.
Miro was great. Another dark horse that I would have picked would have been Anthony Bowens. I love Bowens. Thank you.
Yes, because I think Anthony Bowens, because people were talking about a lot of these like new people coming in. I think Anthony Bowens has it, and he has such a high ceiling. I think he's so good.
Oh yeah, Bowens is fantastic.
And it gets overshadowed because Max Caster's so good on the mic, but like Bowens is great on the mic too, and he's big. And he's awesome. I really like Bowens.
But Andrade is another one. Adam Cole.
Yeah, so it's brutal.
So many people. But there we go. Yeah. So we'll quickly run through our rosters.
Yes.
So for AEW Rampage, with this brand split, I've decided to take on Ethan Page, Kylan King, John Moxley, Britt Baker, Jungle Boy, Luchasaurus, Ricky Starks, Powerhouse Hobbs, Press 10 Vance, Legit Layla Hirsch, Orange Cassidy, Hangman Adam Page, Ruby Soho, Santana, and Ortiz.
Nice.
And I guess who would I make world champion? I'd go with Hangman Adam Page probably as world champion. As like a mid-card champion, Ethan Page. Tag team champions, Santana Ortiz. Women's champion, legit Layla Hirsch.
Nice. So here's who I ended up with, and I'm gonna preface this with saying that Darius Martin's got to perform out of the gate, or I'm gonna have to drop him for one of these other tempting picks, because I do kind of regret picking the full tag team with Top Flight, but I've got him, so that's fine.
Oh boy!
I've got the Lucha Brothers, Phoenix and Pentagon. I've got Bryan Danielson, the American Dragon. I've got Kenny by God Omega. I've got Thunder Rosa. I've got the Young Bucks, Matt and Nick Jackson. Top Flight, Dante and Darius Martin. All three of my tag teams are related. That's fun.
Hey.
Serena Deeb, Sammy Guevara, Malachi Black, John Silver, Chris Statlander, and Pac. And I'm gonna cheat a bit, and I'm gonna say that my champions, because I picked the current tag team champions and the current world champion. I think I'm just gonna keep the titles on them. I might as well. And for women's champion, I'm going to put it on Thunder Rosa off the top for sure.
Nice.
And then as a mid card title, I would probably go for, out of this juicy stack of people, I'm going to go for Phoenix, because every single title match is going to be an absolute banger, and I just like he's going to be a double champion. I probably run a storyline of maybe him getting a little too overworked. And you can have him lose the title. Maybe he has to defend both titles in a night, and then you have him lose one of the titles, and it's kind of like a way to keep him strong, but also lose the title. Double, and then maybe even have Penta face Kenny Omega at one point, so they to try and get all the titles in the company.
Ooh.
Like, yeah,
that'd be cool. Nice. I love it. So,
and everyone else is on Dark. Everyone else we didn't pick is on Dark.
Yeah. On Elevation.
CM Punk, all those guys, featured. They're all in Dark.
CM Punk on Dark. Oh, Lord. Yeah. Awesome. So then, question to the audience is, let us know whose roster do you think is better? A little friendly competition. And also, which show would you be more likely to watch? And who would you draft if you had to draft the AEW? Like, what would be your top 5, essentially?
Realistically, I think the best roster is Dark. Out of this scenario, but,
statistically, possibly, it's like, oh, the Dark roster is 35 people. Ooh, you're two measly's 15s. No, there's just so many good people. It just proves that there's so many good people in AEW that even like the underrated, sort of lesser known people are more favorites than like the super over, like everybody knows people. So, but yeah, awesome. Well, we're because we went through that, and usually these draft episodes are a bit longer. We're not going to do a question of the week, but of course, if you want to leave questions for us to answer here on the podcast, you can send it to us on Twitter or at our website, unknownerafilms.com/book events. Also on there, you can find our all the episodes, links to all the apps that you can get podcasts on, and also all of our match recommendations, which we will do this week. So Jake, what is a match that you want to recommend people go and watch? Is there a match you've seen recently? Is there a favorite match that you have of all time or anything like that? You've recommended a couple now, but
yes. Now I'm trying to remember so I don't recommend the same one again. So like, I mean, out of the ones in terms of like recently matches that I've seen, I'm pretty sure everyone's seen Daniel Bryan and Kenny Omega, or Bryan Danielson and Kenny Omega.
I'm still doing the same thing where I'll go like, Bryan Danielson. Yeah,
it's gonna take a while. You know what? I'm gonna say, since we're talking about AEW, we're talking about, because I picked so many tag teams, and I'm hoping I friggin' didn't say this in another episode, but maybe I did. We're talking about like that cage match, Lucha Brothers versus the Young Bucks being like the best tag match, and I think it's certainly up there. But just even as a personal preference, I'm going to say my favorite tag match is the Golden Lovers versus the Young Bucks in New Japan. So Kenny Omega and Kota Ibushi versus the Young Bucks. I think that's a fantastic match. Look it up if you know which
Like what event that specifically was that? Or
let me see. It's definitely early in the year. I think it's whatever their event is right after Wrestle Kingdom. And it was the year that I'm just going to look it up. It was on.
It definitely has not been recommended before, but.
Oh, excellent. That's good. It happens. I'm going to just double check this to make sure that I don't have the wrong information, but I think it's Sakura Genesis 2018. No, it's not. Shoot, where the hell is this match? I'm going to look. Young Bucks versus Golden Lovers. I didn't hallucinate this. This absolutely happened.
I definitely. I'm not as well versed in New Japan as like you or some of our other friends, or but the Golden Lovers are definitely like such an interesting story. I watched like a documentary thing about that whole thing, and it was actually Kenny and Kota Ibushi like talking about like the development of it. I
saw that too. That was a great piece. Yeah.
And it's such a cool story that I couldn't see happen anywhere else in wrestling. If you want to know more about the Golden Lovers, like just look it up, look at some of their matches, look at like their history. It's such a cool
documentary.
Story.
Called, I think, The Omega Man, I think.
Yeah, something like that.
And that's a really good place to look to get more of a sense of it. This match specifically is it happened in the States. I didn't realize that. It was New Japan Strong Style Evolved in 2018. And it was the Golden Lovers, Kenny Omega and Kota Ibushi versus the Young Bucks, Matt and Nick Jackson. And it was at a time in New Japan where they were doing this like Bullet Club Civil War stuff. There was a lot of tension within the Bullet Club.
Yes.
And Kenny Omega was on top, but Cody was coming in. But because Kenny Omega and Kota Ibushi have this long history, as a tag team, as friends, as lovers, Kota Ibushi coming into the mix really riled a lot of things up. It's like, where are your allegiances, Kenny? Are they to Kota Ibushi or are they to the Bullet Club? And I just think, this match is so good. It's fantastic. Go check it out. Yeah,
for sure. No, definitely go look that up, and there will be a link to it if I can find like a free. Usually whenever we do match recommendations, they're like, can I find a free version of this, please?
Right.
Usually is one out there, especially for like kind of more indie stuff, which is great. And we'll link that on our website. Jake, thanks so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me. This is a blast.
As always, when Anthony is too busy to do his own podcast, jeez, gonna get real heel heat.
How dare he get work? How dare he?
How dare he work and make money for a living? Wow. Thank you so much for coming on. Yeah, this was a lot of fun. I love these. Like, the dream matches are fun, but then it's like, oh yeah, we get to just like be like goof around and dream book our own like drafts, and we'll have to do another Rumble someday. Hopefully not as long as this.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. That was fun though.
But yeah, if people want to follow you, where can they go to check you out?
I know
you're not a big social media guy.
Yeah, I don't use social media a whole lot, but @BeardedJake on Twitter is probably the one I use the most. I also have an Instagram my name is Jake. How are you? Way too long, but Twitter's the one I use the most. I don't use it a whole lot. Trying to use a little more, but yeah,
cool.
There it is.
As always, you can follow myself on Twitter, Instagram @Bard_minute, and you can follow the podcast on Twitter @BookAdvancePod. Tweeting all sorts of stuff, tweeting live events, and hopefully soon enough get to have in-person pay-per-view parties and watch lines and stuff. We'll see. Who knows?
Yeah.
Eventually. Thank you very much for listening and or watching the podcast. We'll catch you next time. Go watch some wrestling and have a good one. Bye, everybody.